As holidaymakers flock to the country's beaches this festive season, the National Sea and Rescue Institute has urged revelers to keep safety in mind amid reports of drownings in the areas. The NSRI spokesperson, Craig Lambinon, says that rip currents remain the greatest cause of drownings on the coast. He joins us now for more on this. Craig, a pleasure to have you on the program. Now, to tell a family that a loved one would not be coming home due to an accident or a drowning must be one of the hardest tasks for any official, along with SAPs as well as emergency services. Speak to us about some of the considerations that need to be made by beachgoers, especially those going to the beach or even areas which have water in them.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you very much. Safe New Year to everybody. We are appealing to the public to have that safety conscious mindset. Rip currents around the coastline remain the greatest cause of drowning, but also our inland waterways, rivers, lakes, dams, any body of water that's being used for recreational purposes, or even your swimming pool at home. You should have a cloak of safety around it. We're particularly appealing to public members in areas affected by heavy rainfall, not to try to cross over rivers that are under flood, to watch out for flash floods, and if a bridge is submerged in water, underwater, at a flood-affected river, don't try to drive over the bridge. Rather simply wait until the water subside or find another route. So there are sadly more drownings on inland waterways than there are around the coast. At this time of the year, one of the greatest benefits that we have is lifeguards on our beaches that are out there to see to public safety at our beaches, swim in between the safety marked swimming zones that they post. They're looking out for where the strong rip currents are forming. Rip currents form at different places throughout the day, and that's simply as the water reaches the beach, it has to find a way to get back out into the ocean. It does that by forming a rip current. Lifeguards will watch out for the rip currents. If a public member appears to be starting to get into a difficult situation, the lifeguards will intervene. But the concern is at inland waterways and rivers, lakes and dams, there aren't always lifeguards on duty, and there you need to be extra cautious. But we also appeal to parents to make sure that their children have responsible adult supervision when they're in or around water.
Now, talk us through the NSRI's own emergency services level of preparedness to even respond to emergencies this summer.
So NSRI volunteers are on duty every day of the year, 24 hours a day. So nothing really changes too much for us at this time of the year. We're ready to respond to our station to launch rescue craft, both on inland dams or on the coastline at any given notice, at any given time. And then there's a massive support structure behind our response. So in a drowning in progress, the NSRI get alerted, the two flanking stations to that NSRI base get alerted, lifeguards near to that area get alerted, and then there's a whole rollout of law enforcement, police, fire and rescue services, ambulance services, helicopter services. At times, even the military can get involved in that kind of a response. It's a massive response. It's fast, and it can't be changed in any way. Now, we can't send a resource to investigate, to see if maybe the person is in difficulty or not. If we get the call to say that there's a drowning in progress or a boat capsized or something like that, the response is equal every time. It's a massive execution of resources to that area. Only when the first resource arrives on scene can we start making proper evaluations to see what other resources are needed or if any of those responding resources can stand down. But unlike a land emergency where you know the people are still going to be there when we get there, with a water rescue, it could be that the person has disappeared underwater, and then there's a whole new process involved, including helping the family to find closure, finding the person's body, which becomes a recovery operation, which, just as tragic as that is, it's a godsend to the families to at least be able to get some closure. We are aware still with that Yixkay, that tragic incident on the Yixkay River not long ago, where there are still at least 3 people missing in that incident, and that search is still continuing.
Now, you've already alluded to the fact that rip currents remain the greatest cause of drownings on the coast. What other considerations should beachgoers and bathers consider? I mean, if you find yourself in trouble, what kind of steps can you follow?
Yeah, so understandably, don't drink alcohol and go swimming or drive your boat or paddlecraft. That dulls the senses. If you're at a beach and you get caught in a rip current, you'll know that you're in the rip current because you've been swept out to sea faster than what you can get back to shore. It's in that moment that you don't panic. Simply stay afloat. Use the air in your lungs, which is natural flotation. Use your arms and legs in circular movements, which is treading water. As difficult as what I'm saying now, it's verified that as difficult as it is, let the current take you out to sea. Don't try to fight against the current. Obviously, shout for help so people on the beach can alert the authorities. And at your first opportunity, swim across the beachfront until you're free of the rip current. That's parallel to the beachfront, and then use the incoming waves to get back to shore. The process takes some time. You need to have your senses about you. You don't panic. Stay afloat.
Now, for inland users, how should they approach their recreational activities? I mean, on lakes, on rivers, lagoons, swimming pools, you've also discussed as well, or any body of water?
Also, with rivers, the difficulty is that you find yourself suddenly swept off your feet by the swift water flowing fast. And if that happens, there's a lot of factors involved. You can hit your head against rocks. You can be caught up in other debris in the water. So that's very important, is not to wade too deep into a river if you are going there for recreational purpose. On lakes and dams, the difficulty is that a lake and a dam might seem like a flat surface of water and unaffected. As soon as the wind picks up, it actually can be quite rough. You can even get waves on lakes and dams. So the important thing is don't venture too deep into the water. Stay at a place where you are able to stand, or at least know the way back to where you're able to stand in the water if you do decide to have a quick swim. And then any other body of water. The difficulty is there's some bodies of water that are attributed to rural areas or mines where there's a swell or a swirl of water in that area because of an escape route which is underwater, where the water flows to. And the difficulty there is you can suddenly find yourself sucked underwater unexpectedly. So it's about having your wits about you and being safe. And obviously your swimming pool at home. The difficulty is that if you aren't physically watching your children while they're in the water, drowning is silent. If you drown, you simply slide underwater. You slip underwater unannounced. You don't have that ability to call for help or realize what's happening. You're simply trying to stay above water, and then you slip underwater. Sadly, families often suddenly realize one of the children isn't there anymore and find them lying at the bottom of the pool. And that is extremely tragic and heartfelt that those families have to deal with something like that. So if you are watching your children while they're in the water, physically watch the children. Don't be distracted by your cell phone or talk around the lunch table or the braai. Physically be watching your children. We've gone so far as to ask parents to have half-an-hour shifts where you're physically watching the children while they're swimming. It's exceptionally important.
Craig Lambinon there. He's also urging parents to be extra vigilant over their children's safety, especially during a time like this.